So people say single-cylinder bikes are boring. They say that single-cylinder bikes are for beginners. And they say that if you're an experienced rider, come on, why would I want to go on a single-cylinder bike? Well, this baby that you're looking at over here is not boring. It's not just for beginners. And it certainly rewards the experienced riders in all of you. Introducing the KTM 690 Duke R 2014 edition. This is a fire-breathing machine that only has one cylinder, and we are so chuffed to be able to test this out. Come on, let's go. My gloves on. So I'm right now riding this this bike, which is very popular amongst a lot of Malaysians, not only because it looks really good, but also because the KTM brand has such a presence in the international scene. And, well, you know, what's not to love about a bike that screams its intention by displaying it in its bright orange paintwork? But I'm sure this bike has got a lot more to live up to than just its reputation and also the way it looks. It's got to live up to the way people expect it to behave. And let me tell you one thing for sure. I spent very little time with this bike, and I remember the first impression that I got from this bike when I first got on it and I took it for a spin for the very first time was that this bike was so very, very light. I mean, this bike is not a very small bike, all right? Let's face it, it's actually quite sizable, and it actually sits quite tall. I mean, if the camera can look down, if I have one foot flat on the floor, the other definitely is not going to be flat because I've got to point it up because it's sort of like a tall bike, right? So it's a fairly large bike, but it is really, really light. I mean, how light? This to me is, it feels heavier than a Kapchai, but it feels sort of like lighter than a 250 bike. That is amazing for something like this, and I think that's really, really cool. What does that mean? That means that when people say this bike is perfect for the beginner, it is true, because beginners, you wouldn't really know how to do with the size of the bike and the bulk of the bike, but this bike definitely going to be very easy for you. Hey, you want to talk about power? You definitely got to talk about speed, and you got to talk about how this bike delivers the power. It is a single cylinder, and it is a thumping single cylinder. This bike is a 690cc, so it pushes out something north of 60 bhp, and the R in this bike means that this is racing spec. It's got a different set of cams, and it's got a different set of air boxes, and also the Akrapovic mufflers also come as standard. So this bike has got a little bit more power than the standard 690, and it definitely showed. You know, when I was taking over the bike, the guys from KTM told me, if you are not used to KTM, gears 1, 2, and 3, be careful of your lift off, because it just takes you off like nobody's business. I'm in 4th gear, so I'm alright right now. But let me just, you know, for the sake of trying, go down to 3rd. Whoa! And it goes booms like that, and it just feels fantastic. Absolutely flickable. This bike is just absolutely flickable, and this is thanks to the way they have distributed the weight on this bike and the construction on this bike. It's just a doddle to ride, seriously. Like I said earlier, the tall riding position actually gives you a stronger confidence in approaching the lines ahead of you because you get to see more. But the general width of the bike makes it easy to ride in any traffic condition. And I am talking about traffic condition because I feel that this bike, with all its talent, is going to definitely be used as a city commuter first and foremost, right? And it's got to do well in that sense. So the dynamics of the bike works well for that sort of application. I mean, I'm in traffic, and it's just easy. It's a doddle to handle this bike. In terms of what you see ahead of you, the digital display is, again, yet another thing that makes this bike very accessible. Even though this is a 690 Duke R, which means it's supposed to be racing, but then you don't find yourself, you know, in sort of like that position. You're actually in a very comfortable position. And I suppose that only adds to the fact that it's a great racing machine, and you can really take this bike and go places with it. And amongst places that I think you can go, it's definitely the track. The track is definitely one place you want to try and take this bike to, because it just flicks and it turns and it attacks corners and it stays on the line. It is just a nimble bike to go on.
So, the KTM 690 Duke R, is it really a beginner's bike? Well, I say it is great for beginners because it's a double to ride. But is it really only for beginners? No, it's not. It's something for everyone, and you will be able to find excitement regardless of the level of riding comfort that you have and experience that you have. And this 2014 bike comes with a lot of goodies because it's an R, right? So you've got the handguards as an accessory, and also you've got the crash bars at the bottom, which gives visual width to the bike, and it looks really, really cool. Apart from that, you've got a lot of stuff which makes this bike cool to begin with. Brembo brakes, and then you also have Akrapovic mufflers. The whole works lah. You know, it's a fun bike. It's chuckable, it's affordable, and it looks bloody good. We like it. We definitely like it. KTM 690 Duke R.